And this is why I still believe this is the greatest season we've had in a while. Yet again, the writers are circling back to what made the show so good, coming up with interesting concepts and ideas only to twist it to make for a truly entertaining episode. Pure season 1 vibes, and I mean that in a good way. This is a breakdown and review of season 9 episode 7 of Rick and Morty, Mortgully, the Last Rickforest. The episode begins with Rick and Morty trying to gather sap from this mystical tree when they find that it's alive. See, this guy hates
spacefarers.
I'm afraid though he has a point.
You consume your planets, then spread your sickness to the stars.
And so he drags Rick and Morty down to this hollow earth and they're reincarnated into, oh shit, well if it ain't the Amoeba Boys. That's when they're introduced to this guy, a clear parody of Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption. Funny enough, he's actually voiced by Morgan Freeman's son, Alfonso Freeman. He starts off as a cozy prison cellmate that is presumably gonna help our main guys get out. Never mind. After they're killed, they find themselves getting reincarnated back into Amoeba.
Guess if you die, you start over. Good thing we hadn't made much progress.
They're basically playing Minecraft hardcore, but instead of gathering materials to progress, Rick and Morty have to evolve. So they go through mitosis and eventually become fish before evolving into these tiktaalik creatures. I actually had to search what were the first fish to walk on land. Honestly, this moment made me want to go watch those banging history videos by Extinct Zoo. Rick realizes the reincarnation field is directly connected to the tree, so he figures the only way to break the cycle is to escape back to the surface. Now, despite being able to breathe air, Morty ends up dying after hyperventilating at the sight of all the predators surrounding him. So Rick ends up drowning himself too. This time around, they decide to evolve into spiders, and that backfires pretty much instantly. So next, they evolve wings and become birds. Unfortunately, because there are no thermals, they can't rely on rising warm air to carry them upward, meaning they actually need wings strong enough to fly their way back up. Morty then asks if they're able to make mech suits yet, referring to the many times Rick has done this, like in the episode Look Who's Purging Now, but Rick points out that birds are mostly just good for traveling. Just then though, it's revealed that the tree can still kill them down here. Fantastic. Already, I was loving this episode. It does feel like a very unique premise, even though it's a mix of Rick die, Rick Pete, with the repeated dying and coming back to life shtick, and the Ricks must be crazy, with Rick getting humbled after being forced to survive in a strange new world he accidentally trapped himself in. Now, I've been pretty transparent about how I feel toward the supposed repetitive plots this season, but this one feels unique enough in its execution. The evolution aspect gives it a completely different spin. What did you guys think of this concept? Let me know down below. While you're there, leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here. Apparently almost 90% of you who watch these breakdowns are not subscribed. As always, I'm making weekly breakdowns of the season as episodes come out. I also do big character recap and analysis videos. Subscribe so you don't miss out. The next shot we see is a cute reference to that montage of Simba growing up in Lion King. Not the only time this episode references Lion King. Now that they're apes, they can learn how to climb. Of course though, Rick goes ape shit to evolve into an even stronger monkey, but Morty dies in the process, making him restart.
You lost, son?
God damn it, where have I seen this shit before? Thankfully, the guy isn't King Jellybean and pretty much tells Morty,
this is good news. We can finally be bees.
In all seriousness, he says that the cycle of violence gets you nowhere, and instead, you should submit to the cycle. To contrast with this, Rick doubles down on violence, and it's revealed he's taken control of all of the apes. He tries pretty much every possible way to take down this tree, including sacrificing his right-hand man, Gorilla Number 3. This guy will come back later, but the tree has an answer for everything. Even though Rick looks pissed, you can tell he enjoys the challenge. Now, at first, it seems genuinely enlightening for Morty to take part in these productive cycles of life, but the more he experiences life through other life forms, the more he starts to see the futility of it all. Everything is eating, surviving, shitting, reproducing, dying, and feeding back into the same system. So the guy responds,
Well, that's what a healthy ecosystem is. Eventually, the warden will notice our piety and set us free. Until then, we find peace in here.
And Morty responds with a really interesting line.
A reformed prisoner is someone who doesn't want to leave the prison?
Now bear with me as I mention Shawshank again, but that's basically what that movie was showing through Brooks. He became so institutionalized that the outside world no longer felt like freedom to him. That is what I feel like Morty's picking up on. If you trap someone in a system long enough, they might stop dreaming of escape and start calling the prison their purpose or their home, which is exactly what these guys have done. I would say this is a slight commentary on the paradox of the justice system, a system that claims to rehabilitate people, but can also condition them so deeply that they no longer know how to exist outside of it. It's also why Red is able to leave Shawshank eventually, because in the end, he didn't care about leaving anymore. Now, after the guy offers him a vegetable, Morty refuses because he doesn't want to eat whoever that is, but the guy responds by saying that no one would actually choose to be a vegetable, giving Morty an idea that Rick would never come up with. He reincarnates once again, but this time he chooses to become algae, and what follows is a genuinely beautiful montage sequence. Honestly, at this point, it's become a tradition for every every season to have at least one sequence this poignant. Morty does nothing, letting the cycle of life carry him wherever it wants. Eventually, he's able to become a group of trees, allowing him to finally reach the surface. For a moment, it really seems like he figured out what the warden was trying to teach him. But then that bastard reveals,
The life cycles of the guilty provide nourishment.
Oh, but that's more of a byproduct than the point of all this, right?
Because... No.
Turns out the guy's actually just a heartless monster. What I love is that Rick was watching Morty's entire transformation the whole time. You can tell he was genuinely proud of him, because not a few seconds later, Rick kills himself just to end up back with Morty as an amoeba.
He's evil, Rick! He's feeding off the cycle of death! We're all just mulch!
Damn, pretty diabolical tree.
I also love that Rick starts doing the
My little poopa!
thing to Morty again, but even more than that, I love the fact that he's smiling once he realizes what an asshole the tree really is. He might be getting some wild ideas.
I wouldn't do this, it's barbaric overkill.
Then we get
No!
Oh, I don't think so. It sounds familiar, doesn't it to you?
Rick and Morty come up with a new plan. They reunite everyone, including Gorilla Number 3, who is now a hyena, in order to starve the tree out. How do they do this? By isolating themselves inside a cave that is Morty. And so, for the first time in a while, all the prisoners actually find a more comfortable and fulfilling life. One where both Morty and everyone inside him can thrive and survive. It makes you wonder, though, just how long this actually took. It had to have been at least a couple of decades. But honestly speaking, time doesn't even matter in the show. When the tree eventually realizes what's happening, it's already far too late and they jump him. This is one of the more satisfying deaths for an antagonist in the show. But you see, killing him doesn't actually bring back their original bodies. And in classic Rick and Morty fashion, they ditch everyone.
Where have you two been all day?
None ya.
Oh, my third wife is biracial.
I love the ending where Summer's studying biology and Morty tries to show off what he learned.
I think I know a thing or two about that. Nope.
I'm sorry, Morty. It's a bummer. In reality, you're as dumb as they come.
This episode could also be the writer showcasing a microcosm of how Rick lives his life. Rick, as we've seen, is someone who's constantly adapting. No matter what world he's in, no matter what threat he's facing, he always finds a way to survive. But survival doesn't necessarily mean he's free. Look at the Rick Prime situation, for example. After killing him, Rick thought his entire purpose would finally be fulfilled. That once the man who destroyed his life was gone, his cycle of heartbreak and crippling sadness would end. But instead, he found himself stuck in the exact same place emotionally, still drinking, still spiraling, and still throwing himself into chaos just to feel something. So when this episode traps the both of them in a literal cycle of death and survival, it feels like a reflection of Rick's own existence. He keeps evolving, but he never finds a way to escape. This also makes Morty's algae sequence even more interesting. For a second, Morty seems to find peace in the cycle. He stops fighting it, stops trying to dominate it like Rick, and just lets life carry him. Rick sees that, and like I stated before, you can tell he's genuinely proud of Morty. But then the tree reveals that the whole cycle is pure exploitation. And I think that's where Rick immediately shuts down any chance of reflection. Because in his mind, of course the universe works like that. To him, the universe is cruel, and he'll never willingly submit to the natural way of the world. That's my 2 cents on the episode. Now, I personally don't think it's some insanely deep masterpiece or anything. I just love digging into these stories more than I probably need to. Regardless, an extremely unique concept with some great animation and fun moments. If you're new around here, subscribe, leave a comment what you guys thought of the episode, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Again, Rick and Morty breakdowns are coming every week until season 9 wraps up, and then a huge Rick Sanchez analysis. If you want to support me further, follow all my socials, join my Patreon, and consider grabbing my book, The Shattered Absolution, heavily inspired by the shows I cover, and I want to thank you once again for watching.